Yo, bro, do you remember when COVID-19 first got announced? Yeah, bro, I do. That was like, what, 2 years ago now? Man, time's flying by. Yeah, bro, time does fly by. Because that wasn't 2 years ago. Wait, what do you mean? COVID-19 was announced 5 years ago in 2 months. What?
Now stop. Why did you feel that way? What makes you so nostalgic for a time everyone swore was miserable? What made you go back? And it's not just you and me who feels this way, whether it's the countless reels, video essays, or just plain old conversations with your mates. People miss this time. So, what's up? I ask myself this question a lot. So, why don't we try to find the answer by reminiscing about this weird chapter in our lives? And where better to start than with the one thing we all had in common. It's hard to put into words the surreal comfort of waking up 10 minutes before class starts, grabbing breakfast your mom slid onto your desk, and joining your online class while simultaneously turning off your microphone right after greeting the teacher because, let's be honest, you weren't doing anything for the rest of the lesson, although some people were unable to turn it off.
Hey, any questions before I go on from here? Great. I really understood that well.
And then just playing games, or talking with your friends on Discord, or doing literally anything else but studying. School ended around lunchtime anyway, so what even was the point of locking in for the day? The only time we had to semi-try was when the teacher decided to give out tests. The smart ones realized that doing a traditional test was futile, so they just gave out a long-ass homework that took some effort to complete, so they weren't entirely useless. There were also the ones that couldn't give less of a crap if you cheated, so they just gave you a PDF file and completely locked off the call. They were legends. But the ones that actually made real tests were just dumb. Like, do you expect me not to cheat? Well, you are absolutely right. I'm a humble, righteous young man, grateful for the roof above my head and food on my plate. I never cheated, nay, lied about anything. My miraculous leap in German grades, where I went from the worst student in my class to the second best? Pure enlightenment, nothing to do with the lockdown. Another iconic part of online classes, at least to me, were the profile pictures. You had three types of people. First ones were the normal students. These were the guys that just had themselves as their profile picture. Nothing to really speak of, but also nothing to criticize, so this was the safe option. Unless you were one of those bozos who cosplayed as an e-boy. Get out! Second type were those guys that matched their profile pictures together. They were usually one of the core groups in your class, the people who were always together during breaks, so this could have been some kind of a coping mechanism for them not seeing each other, which I understand. But I'm not a psychologist or anything, so that's just a theory. A game theory! And when they managed to coordinate their backgrounds after the teacher told us suddenly to turn our cameras on, mwah, beautiful. But there were also the couples with their god-awful eating images. You can call me a lonely or jealous motherfucker, but these were the cringiest things I've ever seen. And they hurt even more when the guy was obviously into the girl whilst she insisted that they were only friends. Like, yeah, you have anime matching pictures because he's your friend. And finally, the third, the funny / borderline suspension risking ones. This is the one I mostly identify with. We are the ones risking it all for a chuckle from our classmates, even though some guys took it too far. Like, I never personally experienced anything too bad. The worst I saw was a dead guy with some of his insides on the outside, but I'm pretty sure the guy that had that as his profile picture wasn't trying to be sadistically funny or edgy, he was just weird. But the horror stories I heard about guys logging in as Adolf into their history lessons and arguing with their teachers that they are making a thematical addition are shocking, insensitive, and wrong. But also really funny. My personal choice of a profile pic was that one Indian guy from the Under the Water meme.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
Still one of the funniest things I've ever seen. One time I even pissed off a teacher because me and my friend were doing a speaking exercise in our English class, which basically consisted of us doing an Indian accent and asking about gift cards. Safe to say she wasn't too pleased when she joined and I stayed in character. But let's get back to random people forgetting to turn off their mic for a bit. One time I was just watching a YouTube video whilst in a class and out of nowhere I hear my classmate yell, "I can't build, motherfucker, what the actual fuck do you want me to do?" Now, other than the priceless reaction of our teacher that consisted of her being audibly tired of this shit and the fact that this was absolutely hilarious, it also takes me to my next point. Because he was playing what I and many others would consider the game of the quarantine. Let's change the pace of the video a little bit. This was simply a magical time to play Minecraft. Me and my friends started a Minecraft server that to this day is the only SMP I have ever been a part of that lasted longer than a month. Now, this had everything to do with the fact that we couldn't go anywhere, but that didn't change the joy, the genuine joy of building a base and then comparing it with your friends. Pranking each other with an obscene amounts of bamboo, or just mining at night, talking about this crazy situation you got yourself in. These late night sessions are probably my favorite memories when it comes to gaming. 1.16 just released, which meant netherite and a whole new way of mining, usually consisting of exploding a lot of stuff. That, of course, led to us dying a lot, which again led to hours-long rescue missions to not lose our stuff. This isn't really important to the video message, but it shows how much of just mindless fun this old game created. Let's circle back a little bit, because Minecraft had a lot to do with online school as well. As I've mentioned, a lot of people played during lessons, me being no exception. Sorry, mom. And the genuine adrenaline rush you get when the teacher calls you out for a question, but you're in the process of not dying to a skeleton, so you can't really answer him, but he keeps calling you, saying you aren't active, whilst the skeleton keeps shooting for your shield, which I swear they have aimbot. Then the other classmates start texting you like they don't know exactly what you're doing, and there's a creeper now. Suddenly, you hear the door opening from behind, and mom, get the fuck out of my room, I'm playing Minecraft. I'm sad I'll never experience that again. It was just so charming. I consider this to be the peak of Minecraft. And yes, I get that the early 2010s are considered to be the best, but I just have more great memories of this period, and the fact that many of my friends share the same sentiment proves to me that it's not just me imagining it, but that it was truly beautiful. We're talking about Fortnite now. I'm not going to take long on this, but I feel like I must mention it. Especially seasons 1 and 2 of Chapter 2. These were the two longest ever seasons, running from the 2019 winter to 2020 spring, which I consider to be the peak of quarantine. And even though they aren't my favorite seasons, they're still pretty cool. Especially for me, I was horrific at the game, so the inclusion of bots into the lobbies made me feel a little bit better. Still shit, but better. I mainly played with my teammates at the time. There was this one guy that was correct at the game, a really good player. He was also a very chill guy. Even when we played games in real life, he never looked stressed or angry. I mean, in the sport I played, not Fortnite. I didn't play Fortnite in real life. But every time we started the game, it was like a switch flipped in his head. He became a dictator. He distributed the loot based on how good everyone was, talked about strategy, hell, he even gave out orders like we were landing in Normandy. Like, calm down, man, it's just a game. The main reason I even mentioned Fortnite in this video is because I really started to get along with a guy who is now one of, if not my best friend, and it all began through Fortnite, believe it or not. Anytime I wasn't playing Minecraft, I played duos with him. He was just slightly better at the game, but not cracked, so we didn't really pay attention to the game itself. We mostly spent our times talking about what we'll do once we return to school. He also lived very close to me, so we sometimes even met up in real life. I know we weren't supposed to do that, but we weren't endangering anyone, so piss off. He was one of the only ways I could get some human interaction, and I really thank him for being there for me. Now that we're older, we often look back on this time as the time we really got tight. So once again, thanks man. I really appreciate you, even if I don't say it that much. But what about the other source of human interaction? The people closest to you at any time, the ones that care for you above anything else. I'm almost 100% sure that everyone here got sick of their family and lockdown at some point. Especially if you are between the ages of 12 to 15. And it's completely natural to get tired of somebody you see every second of every day. But it's also fair to say that at least I really miss that. I sometimes have these thoughts that everyone had at some point. What will I do when they're not here? My parents are, thank God, still healthy and pretty young, but the thought is still there, lurking at the back of my mind. Since I live alone for most of the week nowadays, I don't really get to see my family as much as I used to, and it feels like I'm wasting the time I have left with them. So, naturally, I miss the time when we were the closest, when I could spend every second with them. The main thing I remember us doing during the lockdown was going on these long walks through nature. My parents understood the importance of not staying locked inside the whole day, so they brought me and my brother out once or twice a week. We were staying at our cottage that luckily resided next to a large forest. It was here, in the middle of the winter, locked to my phone's screen and annoyed that I even had to be outdoors in the first place, where I looked up and saw the trees, the freshly fallen snow coating my surroundings, and the crystal clear creeks running through the moss-decorated rocks. It was here where I first saw the simple beauty of nature. Year after this moment, I started fishing, canoeing in the summer, and hiking more altogether. It's ironic, isn't it, that in a time where I couldn't experience the outside at its fullest, I found its beauty somewhere where I could be every day. Isn't it ironic that in a time when I was prohibited from going to school, something I wished for on most days, I missed it the most? Isn't it ironic that in a time of being able to play literally any game in the world, I returned to the one nobody touched for a very long time? And isn't it ironic that in a time where we can do it all, we look so fondly on a different one, where we couldn't? So, why? Why do we look back on quarantine so fondly? Or, even in some cases, want to go back? Well, didn't we kinda answer ourselves with the little monologue at the end? We miss or crave to go back to the time we are most familiar with. We remember the best. It's where we are the most confident, the most ourselves, and what time in our life was more easily identified or remembered than the period where our lives changed the most. Again, it's ironic. The time that was the most unique is also the one we feel safest in, because it sticks out, because we can still feel those emotions, we can still vividly see us in there. And nothing exemplifies these feelings for me better than the beginning of the song My Son Venus from C418. I can't even really put to words why this is, but something about it just makes me reminisce. Reminisce on the long mining sessions with friends I don't really talk to that much anymore. On the school calls where nothing ever got done. On the rare occasions we actually achieved the legendary Victory Royale. And on the beautiful time spent with my oh so dear to me family. We can reminisce as much as we want, but at some point, we have to move on.